Hey everybody, it's Rob Scheer, the founder of Comfort Cases and the host of Fostering Change. You know what? I want to say thank you and welcome to season 7. Season 7, I can't believe it's here. Do me a big favor. I really want you to listen. I want you to comment, and I definitely want you to subscribe. So I hope you enjoy this season as much as I've enjoyed our guests. Well, you know what? It's so hard to believe we are in the month of October. As you all know, this is a great month. I love this month. Yep, it's my birthday month. I'm going to be 59. Oh my gosh, who would have ever thought? But I also love the fact that actually within a matter of days, we're going to have our Glitz and Glamour Gala. That's exactly right. At the Woodmont Country Club. We are so excited to have so many of our friends and supporters and by the way, you still have an opportunity to bid on one of the auction items. Those are live. I do know that there's a couple of hidden tickets left. If anybody's interested in coming, you can still grab your tickets. But you know what? The fact is that we're coming into National Adoption Awareness Month for the month of November. You know, I've said this quite often. There has never been a bigger joy than having our 5 children and being able to adopt each and every one of them and being able to adopt them, several of them in the month of November. But I will have to tell you, as we went through the journey as foster parents and as our kids went through the journey of being in the system and, prior to their adoption, one of the things that I feel that my kids did not have, which I truly wish they would have had, and mind you, my kids arrived 16 years ago. And in that particular time in DC, they didn't have CASAs. And so I knew what CASAs were because, again, I was a kid who grew up in the system, had tried to always be educated about the system. But I always was wondering why DC didn't have them. But now they do, and I'm happy about that. But, my next guest, she's actually been with CASA for nearly over 2 decades. And so that is a true, true commitment. And I say this quite often, and I say this to CASAs, they are truly our angels that are on earth. They are truly what I really feel is the lifeline to our children who are in foster care. So I'm so, so excited for you all to hear about CASA again. We've had many people all over the country on that work with CASA and run CASA, but I always say it, you can never hear enough about CASAs because this actual podcast I know of 3 people who have became CASAs after hearing one of our interviews. So, without further ado, Tracey, welcome to Fostering Change.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So,
And
Tracey, it
happy
shows.
birthday, though, Rob. I just wanted to tell you, I just
Oh,
turned
thank you. 11
59, so
days.
I beat
11,
you by a month.
11 days. What, your birthday's in November?
September, I beat
September.
you. I
Okay.
just turned 59 myself.
Well, you look great. So,
Thank you. So do you.
I don't feel 59, by the way. So, I really want to dive right into here. So you're exactly, I want to know what is your definition of CASA?
So for us, I mean, there are actually two things. There's what a CASA is and what a CASA does. So the CASAs are appointed by the court. We screen them, train them, supervise them, appoint them by court order to a child or a sibling group in foster care, and they meet with them regularly. They talk with their resource parents, their biological parents. They talk to the school. They find out how the child's doing, what the child needs, and then report that to the judge every 60 to 90 days. That's what they do. But who the CASAs are just really extraordinary people. The commitment that they make to do work that's often difficult, painful, frustrating, but also joyful, and being able to snatch those moments of joy and keep working in a system that's not always supportive of that advocacy role. They are my heroes, no doubt about it.
And they're my heroes as well, by the way. And I think people don't realize that number one, CASA's a volunteer. These are non-paid people. They don't receive a stipend. They don't receive, they do this out of the love of their heart. I wanted to, I really, and I've said this, and I said this in my intro, is that, I do believe that CASAs are the lifeline for kids in foster care. And I have said this, ever since I got into this nonprofit arena, is I think that we do a really big disservice to our children who are in foster care. And let me explain the reason why. And by the way, I'm ready for all your hate emails. I get them all the time. We all have an opinion. But I feel that, one of the things that we lack when it comes to children who enter our foster care system is how everybody sits on a different island. And I have seen it firsthand. And what I mean by that is that I feel that when a child comes into our system, everybody should be coming around the table. Everybody that's going to impact that child. And what I mean is birth parents. We need to stop making them as that they are these ogre of people because they're not. Every single one of us fall within our lifetime. Some of us fall harder than others, and it's up to us to help lift them up. And I feel that if we come together with birth parents, we'll see reunification happen sooner. We will see less kids coming into the system. But I feel like the birth parents, the resource parents, the social workers, and the CASAs should all come together and say, what are we going to do to make sure that this child gets back to their family of origin fastest? But, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I have spoken to many CASAs throughout the country, and I know it's different in a lot of places. I am told that in your manual, that it is a requirement that when a CASA has a child and that child is reunified with their birth parents, that you guys step out of the picture.
That's normally what happens. However, here in New Jersey, where I am, we have found that for some kids, that continuation of the relationship is in their best interests. So
Yes.
now we have a caveat that if you choose to remain in that child's life and they come back into care, you can't be reappointed as their CASA because the nature of the relationship has changed.
Right.
You are now a family friend, a mentor, and no longer an advocate. So as advocates go into that post-discharge relationship, that's how we handle that.
So, we know that we have an issue here within our country of what we have named the boomerang kids. These are kids who leave our system because a judge feels that it is time, even though we all know that sometimes kids need more time than others. And these kids end up coming back, and we're looking at about 20% of these kids who are coming back into the system. So you're telling me that if a CASA actually stays in connection with that child and comes back into the system, they can no longer be that child's CASA.
Yes, here in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But I just want to talk about a couple of things. So the program that I run, I've been here 19 years, going into year 20. And I was a
Real quick,
CASA.
what made you decide to be a CASA, Tracy?
My mom grew up in foster care, and it was a deeply damaging relationship and or not relationship, a deeply damaging experience for her. And she actually found CASA as a volunteer opportunity in Florida. So we went through the training together. We got our first cases, and it was too close to home for her. So I ended up with her case and mine. And just started taking so many cases, they started paying me. When I came back to New Jersey, where I'm originally from, they had a brand new CASA program, and it was a great fit. So I've been in this program for 19 years. So, in terms of those boomerang kids, we have served right around 1,100 kids over the last 19 years. And of that 1,100, about 3.5% have come back into care. That's an extremely low number
Is
over 19 years. And I can tell you that some of the strategies that we've utilized here in our program, I think, have contributed to that lower number. One of them is partnering with parents.
yes.
All of our advocates are trained in deepening the relationship with parents. Another one is in the recognition that resources matter. When you don't have concrete resources, it's really, really difficult to maintain any kind of stability. So, our program has invested in things like paying for car repairs when a car breaks down so a parent can continue working. We've paid storage fees for parents who've been evicted so they don't lose all of their stuff. We help parents furnish their apartments when they get housing. We provide gift cards for food. We provide energy assistance when they run into it. And so we recognize that we don't have the capacity to fix all the problems, but we do have the capacity to put the bricks back in the wall as they break. And
Yes.
I think that that level of stability really has helped support parents as well as the children that we're appointed to. Another thing that we just started doing, which we're super excited about, we just opened August 18th, what we're calling the CASA Closet here in our office. And it's stocked with cleaning supplies, with food, with toiletries, with clothes, shoes, housewares, baby items, where parents can just come and get what they need without any kind of show me your pay stub or bring your children's birth certificates. Just come with dignity, take what you need, no questions asked.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And let me tell you something, Tracy. Send me an email because here at Comfort Cases, we get a lot of stuff and we fill a lot of closets in the throughout the country for other agencies and casas that do closets. We have partnerships with Bombas Socks and things like that that we can send toiletries that we're able to send you. So definitely reach out to me. I love the fact that you are empowering the birth parents because we know that statistics show us that about 64% of kids who enter the system enter because of one word, and that's neglect is no more than poverty. And for so many parents, they don't want to lose their kids to the system, but they can't afford electricity, or their kids are sleeping on the floor, and they don't have enough food in their cabinets. And I think that that is a community problem and not just a parent problem. I think that we as a community have forgotten what our forefathers built communities for, which is to take care of each other. And I always think about the fact that, if you see that neighbor whose lights haven't been on for 3 weeks, but there are young kids living in that house, why are you not going over and knocking on the door and saying, is there some way I can help you? But instead, the first thing we do is we call CPS. And I think that a lot of times, we don't really love thy neighbor as much as we should. But I'm so happy to see that you're empowering the birth parents because, whether it's helping them, get a form of transportation. I mean, I know of a family who she lost her kids because she couldn't afford daycare and she ended up having to leave her 11-year-old with her 6-year-old because she needed to go to work. And so she was here going to work to pay for the rent, but she couldn't afford to pay rent and daycare. So she left her 11-year-old with her 6-year-old. And all of a sudden, instead of a neighbor coming in and saying, let me help you watch your kids so you can go to work, or let, society figure out how we can make affordable help daycare, CPS took her kids. And so I think we as a community need to do better when it comes to that.
I could not agree with you more, Rob. And this is one of the spaces that we also in our program, we try to work to educate our community about the cost of poverty. And just by these small interventions and supports, it can keep a family going without collapsing because all it takes is your car breaks, you can't work, can't pay rent. You can't pay rent, you get evicted. You get evicted, all your stuff goes into storage. All because somebody didn't share $800
Yeah.
so that you could get your water pump fixed.
Exactly. Exactly. And
It's crazy.
the thing that gets me, and I've said this quite often, if I ever had a wish, what would my wish be when it came to the foster care system? And it would be that we would realize that we need to go in and foster the family, and not foster the child, the family, because I truly do feel that, if you look at within inside of these families, maybe there is somebody there that needs to be removed, the perpetrator, but to remove the child, we know automatically the trauma starts to begin. And so, why can't we go in and foster the family? And a great example is, and by the way, we're going to get into the cuts that have happened, but, at the time, I will never forget when our children arrived. And children. By the way, my first four children arrived. They were 6 months, two, two, and four. Two sets of
Wow.
siblings. Within 3 months, we had four children. Yes, we were kind of crazy. But I remember when they started giving us the things that you get as a foster parent. And the first thing that happened is because my kids were under the age of 5, my husband and I received WIC. Immediately, we informed them that we didn't need WIC. We could afford our own, but it was a requirement. And because you take the kids, they get weighed. And I remember when we went to the grocery store and saw the list of items that we were supposed to get. And one of the things that they give is a bag of beans. And I remember looking at Reese and saying, "Do you know how to cook beans?" And he says, "I've never cooked beans before." I said, "Me either." I said, "Could you imagine being a mother, a single mom of our two of our four children, and they have WIC, and you hand them a bag of beans? Did you ask them if they had a crock pot? Did you see? That's the problem with our society is that we give something, but we don't teach something. And what you said about educating our community has such an unbelievable biased opinion about children in foster care that these are bad kids. These are kids who've done something to be where they are, which, by the way, they are there because of somebody else's choices, that we are not educating them. And I love the fact that you're hearing that and you're saying that. But what I want to know is truly, how has the cuts affected you? And how has the cuts affected families who are trying to regain the stability of having their children back?
I can tell you that we are so far seeing cuts starting to happen in SNAP benefits. So we've seen an increase in families requesting assistance with grocery gift cards because they're running out of food by the third week of the month instead of it taking them through the full month. Here in New Jersey, electric utility bills have gone up, so we saw a spike in requests for assistance with utility bills as well. The thing that should shake everyone is that the cuts are designed to not really take effect or feel the impact until the winter of 2027 after the midterms. So we're not seeing anywhere near what's going to come down the pike quite yet. Um, and I think that as social service communities around the country, we have to be working proactively towards that. Here in our program, when we were doing our budgeting for the new fiscal year, we put in a full funding, a partial funding, and a catastrophic funding. And in the catastrophic funding budget, we had to take out any kind of the financial supports because we're spending somewhere in the $30,000 to $35,000 a year in direct assistance to families. Um, and you have to protect your core program, right? So, knock on wood, so far this year, we have received the funding that we need to continue our program. What's it going to look like next summer or the summer after? I can't say.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. And the fact is that, I know it is as my viewers and our viewers and our listeners are listening, we understand that times are hard for everybody. We understand that people have uncertainty and don't know what is going on tomorrow, much less what's happening today. But I will tell you, for CASA, for organizations like CASA, that $5 that you donate every single month is actually put to good use. And by the way, there's no such thing as too little. Okay. So every single dollar adds up. You guys rely on volunteers just like our organization relies on volunteers. How can
Yes.
somebody get a hold of you if in the New Jersey area? And by the way, I just got back from New Jersey. I was in Newark, packing over 300 cases. I'm heading back to Newark in 2 weeks to pack another 300 cases. We give our cases to CASA workers all over the country. So I'm so, so excited about you guys. Um,
We've been the recipients of them, so
well,
thank
I
you very
love
much.
it. And by the way, there are as many more as you need. You always sell any of your CASAs. They all they have to do is go to our website and place the order. They're free. And so, but how could people get a hold of you if they want to do that? Because like I said, we've had people reach out to me and say, guess what? I became a CASA. Guess what? I'm taking the class. I have this gentleman, oh my gosh, he's a record producer, by the way, a music producer in LA, was on my podcast. felt like he just had to do something, and he just became a CASA and
Oh, that's
he reached out to
wonderful.
me and just got his first case. And this is a guy, he didn't need to be a CASA. He wanted to be a CASA. And I love that. So if there's somebody who's listening or watching and, their heart is being pulled, and by the way, not everybody can foster, not everybody can adopt, but what you can do is you can volunteer, you can mentor, you can become a CASA. Like she said, is it hard? Yes, it's hard. Life is hard, my friends. Kids in foster care have it hard every single day. And being a CASA, you can make that a little easier. So, Tracey, tell me, how can people get a hold of you?
So for any CASA program that in whatever state you're in, if you use Google CASA in your state, a state program will come up that will filter down to the individual counties. The counties that I serve it's a tri-county program of Somerset, Hunterdon, and Warren counties here in New Jersey. So ours is CASASHaw.org. But you can Google CASA of NJ, CASA New Jersey, and there's a landing page for whatever county you want to go to. But I will also say, Rob, that in addition to being an advocate, there's also a need for good board members.
Yes.
So if you don't feel like it's a great fit for you to actually be an advocate, consider serving on a board of trustees. One of our newest trustees is a woman named Brittany Bray, and Brittany had actually been a CASA child here in our program 18 years ago. And now she's serving on the board of trustees. And I will tell you, her insight and her feedback has been invaluable. She doesn't have the dollars to be a big board member, but she has the lived experience to be extremely valuable. And one of the things that she came up with this year, her advocate was a woman named Kay Mammon, who was a good friend of mine. She just passed in January. So in her honor, Brittany proposed that we create K's kits, and they're for period poverty. So
Oh
they're
my gosh,
little
that's so
tiny bags that have feminine hygiene products in them that girls can fit in their hoodie pockets, so that they don't have to take their purse. Nobody has to have a big deal about finding, a pad or anything like that. Just fits very nicely in there, and they can take care of themselves.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So we actually started a program that in our cases we give a period kit, and it has a water bottle and it has wipes and it's in this little packet. And we also design with an amazing foundation a pamphlet to give kids from 10 and over, young girls, to explain what their menstrual cycle is. And
And Brittany made little key or QR code things to
yes,
stick in there
we
for the
actually made a
same thing.
pamphlet to talk all about their menstrual because I say this all the time. I couldn't imagine my beautiful daughter, she's now 21, but when she started her period, I couldn't imagine that she was in a house of strangers. And that's something that we have let me tell you something. I'd love to talk to Brittany more about it because I am a true believer in empowering our young women, and also normalizing the menstrual cycle because it's happening whether we talk about it or not. And I think it's important that we empower our young women to understand and our young men to know that it happens. Because, by the way, I make my kids go into CVS and buy my daughter tampons and pads because you know what? It's there. So, listen, Tracey, you are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us here at Fostering Change. Thank you for educating our community when it comes to CASA and making sure that we educate our community that we all have an opportunity to do something. I say this quite often, my friends. The world goes around on an axle. We all know that. We learn that in school. But let me tell you the truth. The world truly goes around because of people like Tracey, the doers who every day get up and they push that world a little faster and a little faster. And that is why our world is spinning. And so, are you a doer or are you a sitter? So, if you have any more questions about being a CASA, please reach out to info@comfortcases.org and we will direct you to any CASA. And Tracey, again, thank you so much. I say this quite often. You are truly what I call a good human. Everybody, until next time, don't forget, big gala this Saturday. And I hope you all enjoy this amazing fall weather. Take care.